back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, we are back. It is time for the unofficial 40 podcast brought to you by Midfirst.com or Midfirst Bank. Go to Midfirst.com/U40. That's Midfirst.com/U40 and sign up for the OU Rewards credit card. All right, signing day is behind us. It's the early signing day, but it turned into a shit show yesterday. As Lincoln Riley did not want to give a whole lot of details about the rumored suspensions that were going on, and I kind of nuked the press conference by releasing the information about the suspensions yesterday. But I tell you what, you guys, I'll leave it up to you. Welcome to Josh McClellan, Eddie Radosevich, to Bob Przybyla. I'm Kerry Murdoch. You guys want to give signing day its due and then go back and talk about the suspension stuff?
I thought we'd do.
You want to talk about the way the press conference got nuked yesterday?
Let's do a little impeachment hearing talk first, and then we'll kind of work our way back.
So
no,
it's
up to you guys.
I haven't followed this. He's impeached?
I honestly don't know.
I don't either.
Nor do I care. Right. As long as everybody keeps tweeting about it, I'm fine with it because I find it entertaining.
I don't really follow anyone that tweets about it. The most Trump I get in my Twitter is because of 3-year Letterman and the people he's fighting with.
I think that's probably a good way to go about it.
Because he calls him Doug, and then people that don't understand what he is start fighting with him.
It's perfect.
It's a good troll.
It's a perfect troll. It's a perfect amount of ammunition.
Doug. I love the Doug thing.
Listen, Larry. He always says somebody's name wrong. We love that guy. It was fun meeting up with him. Up to you guys, though.
You guys were part of... were you part of his show? Or was that...
No, it was just like a
one-off?
segment.
No,
it was just like a tweet of a video.
Okay.
It was fun. It's up to you guys, though.
Yeah, Josh,
we could literally flip a coin if we want.
Birthday boy from yesterday. We'll let you decide where you want to go.
I'll stick with recruiting, largely because when I went on Carrie's airwaves yesterday, the last question I went off with was about this, and I was like, I don't have anything to offer on this topic, but they're like, but Sooner Scoop, and I'm like, crap. I get it. Like, I get why you're asking me this, but I literally have nothing to provide other than what we've put out there. So I'm good for nothing in that role.
Was it made out that I've tried to blackball you from my airwaves?
No, I'm just making that story, Gary. Yeah.
I could see something Mark Rogers doing that to me.
Let it be said that 2 of my fellow podcasters run big morning shows in Oklahoma City. Was I a part of either show? No, I was not. But Mark and Dusty, who I don't think I've met either in person in my life, brought me on.
We prefer to have somebody that has had been there, and we brought Bob on.
No. See, Eddie has a defensible position, Carrie.
We don't know. Bob. We have no idea if you're hiding Linda from ICE or taking your daughters to class in the morning. We just don't know what your morning schedule is like.
And yesterday, that's fair. That's why things got crazy for me yesterday. Layla was having tubes put in her ears.
Oh, here we go. Family stories.
Yeah, so
that's how
Tiffany
the pod's starting.
Exactly.
We're really going to be able to blame everything on.
that's so half the reason.
That is probably the first time in a decade I've left the house on signing day because I had to take Lainey to school because Tiffany couldn't do it.
You bring up a good point, Eddie. Aren't tubes just my parents got divorced in disguise? Do tubes really exist?
It might be.
Like, do they really put tubes in children's ears? I've never seen it.
Maybe like the moon landing.
I can send you the picture of the blood in Layla's ear.
Okay, stop it.
It is very common.
I mean, if you beat your children,
you're gonna have blood.
Well, I don't. Hey, Eddie, do you think I'd put those bruises aren't anywhere anybody can see?
That's true. That's true.
Oh my God. Okay, let's stop being so dark and let's talk about recruiting.
Sure. It was kind of like child abuse yesterday.
Yeah.
Something like. I mean, obviously, where should we start? Probably the biggest news. I don't know what the biggest news of the day was.
I mean, the biggest news of the day is not Jase McClellan flipping because everybody knew that was going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, everybody on Sooner Scoop knew that was going to happen.
Sure.
My friend out in
There
were
San
some
Francisco reactions that like, yo, you really didn't know. Okay.
I would say of the things that happened, I would say the biggest story is probably the Reggie Grimes situation.
Okay.
For those, I guess I don't know how many people out there are listening to this podcast that didn't follow yesterday. I mean, it's kind of the one time that we actually kind of do have the spotlight as far as recruiting goes. Reggie Grimes had, from everything I had understood, was planning to sign going into Monday, Tuesday of this week. There were some rumors that he wasn't going to, but I kept hearing he's going to sign, he's going to sign. It's all fine. Well, Wednesday he gets up and he tells Mike Farrell that he was not going to sign. And at some point I'm like, I can't just keep ignoring things that he and his family are saying. I mean, that's just too relevant to the story. So I put something on the board, and as the day went on, you just kind of kept hearing, well, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. What I understand is that he wanted to have, and I believe it's his mother, wanted to have his grandparents at the ceremony they were planning to have yesterday. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's health, I don't know if it was travel, I don't know the why, but they couldn't make it, and they decided to push things back to February. Now, I've been told everyone at Oklahoma is okay with this. They understand the situation and are 100% satisfied with where things are. So I don't think there's a lot to worry about. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in January. I think you can read a lot into what happened yesterday by how things are handled in January.
I'd certainly have to think that there's a certain level of, I guess trust would be the right word, between Oklahoma and the Grimes family, though, that I guess what I'm saying is they just wouldn't let anybody do this. They have something that tells them, like, this is a handshake agreement. I'm coming. Don't worry about it. He tweets out the thing about closing down his recruitment and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't seem like what I guess basically what I'm trying to say is there's not a level of worry in Norman, Oklahoma about Reggie Grimes right now, Bob.
And that's what Lincoln Riley, he even talked, not about Grimes, clearly, because he hasn't signed yet, but what he talked about is that the level of trust, who's legit when they say they're commit and they're shutting it down, and who's still wishy-washy, who's still maybe not as certain, and sometimes because they're in a different part of their recruitment in terms of what schools they've seen, how much they've been sought after, things of that nature. But I think it is a trust factor. He mentioned it a lot with Andrew Rame, who of course is the next recommitment that you go with CeeDee Lamb, Theo Weiss, and just that you have to accept that, and you have to sort of know based on what you develop with the recruit and with his family, and how you need to proceed from there. Do you need to keep working, or can you shut it down? And I agree that when it comes to Grimes, I think they're going to shut it down. I don't think they have much to worry about, but we'll see when January comes around. If any weird offers come out of the blue, you'll know something's about to go down.
And if there was going to be someone right now that would be trying to work to sway him, it'd be, South Carolina, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's clearly the school that felt like him not signing would be a huge win for them. People mentioned Tennessee. Tennessee just didn't seem, for whatever reason, they just didn't seem that engaged in what he was doing. So I don't really think he is a big. I don't expect the Volunteers to get that involved. But South Carolina is that school that I think, if anyone was going to try, I think it would clearly be them.
Now, I'll say this, Lincoln Riley clearly a couple years ago had just that monster offensive, signing class, 5 stars all over the place. You had quarterbacks, you had wide receivers. And I'm not saying that this is comparable, but coming off the season that they did, do you kind of have to almost revel a little bit in the class that Alex Grinch was able to bring in, not just for the high school talent, but for the immediate help that he could be getting through the JUCO ranks?
Well, I think you do. I mean, you look at two guys in Joshua Ellison and Perrion Winfrey that are guys that are immediate impact kind of players. Winfrey may start next year. Ellison is a guy that will come in, I think, probably a lot like LaRon Stokes as far as the level of impact. I mean, just a steady, good player, going to be good depth, could even, work into the starting rotation. I don't know, like Stokes, I don't know that he's a superstar as far as going to make all the big plays like the Redmonds or the Perkins or whatever, but he is a guy that will be a steadying force, a good player on your defensive front. And, I mean, let's be honest, you can't have enough of those kind of guys. So that's huge. And then you throw in Justin Harrington, who I think is a little undervalued even by Oklahoma fans. Like, I keep reading people like, I don't know about this and I don't know about that. I see a big guy who can run, makes plays when the ball's in the air, big hitter, very aggressive. I feel like he's a lot of what you're looking for at safety. Now, we'll have to see, because so often you see these guys with great junior college tape show up and it doesn't look the same when they start facing more, advanced offenses, and you start seeing some of the things that can trip up junior college players. Those things start to happen and start to be a problem. But with what I know about him, what I can definitely verify, I really like him.
It made it tough talking to Grinch because you knew he was getting secondary help throughout the day, but he couldn't talk about it yet. Because the signing day part of Riley and Grinch was so early. Kendall Dennis wasn't in yet. Justin Harrington wasn't official. You didn't know if Joshua Eaton was going to sign. And it's like you knew that him and Roy Manning had earned the right. They were about to really clean up with top targets that they were searching for here during the last couple months. But that he just couldn't talk about it yet. But, yeah, it was a really nice day for Grinch. And now you're getting an idea of what it means to be a Grinch guy. As much as he's worked with what's on campus and definitely made it work with guys like Motley and Buki, now we know, okay, when Grinch says speed D and he says, we're looking for his type of guys in the secondary, we're looking at these long and fast and, guys like Eaton, like Dennis, like Harrington. And so now people have a blueprint of what to expect when it comes to the secondary throughout the next few years or however long Grinch plans on staying in Norman.
Who's your position MVP coach on defense? Is it Tibbs?
I would think it almost has to be, right?
Yeah. Because you needed that defensive tackle. Because people always they point to Gallimore, Overton, and Fab Matau leaving. But really it's because of Derek Green and Ron Tatum. You lost those two guys that you thought were going to be part of this rotation. So you couldn't just go to a high school kid and expect him to be where a second or third year guy should be in the program. You had to hit it big in the junior college ranks, and you couldn't have done a better job with Winfrey and Ellison.
Now, I'm sorry, Josh, did you have something you wanted to add there?
No, I mean, I was really going to back up what you're saying. I mean, you look at it, Ellison, Grimes, and Winfrey, those are three guys that you expect to start for Oklahoma, probably within the first 2 years they're on campus. I can't name any other group in the defense that I would say that about. I mean, part of that is there's only a couple of corners. There's only, there are limitations to it. But, I mean, Grimes and Winfrey are NFL kind of talents. And I don't know, other than maybe Kendall Dennis and Eaton, I think they have that kind of upside. I don't think there's anybody else in that defense that you definitely say that's there for them if they just kind of keep on the right path.
And here's something I think that we should probably highlight is, like, there are going to be a lot of people out there that are focused on, the negative with losing Jase McClellan. But we probably would contribute to that because we saw him so much recently. We gave you a lot of video to, salivate over recently.
And now you can say it was a fumble on Saturday.
Oh, not only was it a fumble, but
it was a screw job. Yeah,
I think he's been playing inelibly.
But
open an investigation, UIL.
But Josh, not to focus on what they didn't get, but what they did get in Seth McGowan. Kind of tell people the type of running back that they're getting that's not Jase McClellan in this class.
And this isn't sour grapes or anything like it. Jase McClellan's a good player. I've been pretty open for a long time that I thought McGowan was the better prospect.
Yeah, you have. I mean, you've been pretty consistent there.
I think McClellan is a guy that there's a lot of wear on the tires. And you've seen some of the Alito guys come out before, and it was an issue once they got to college. With McGowan, it's not that he hasn't had plenty as well. He's carried a lot for Poteet. Now, this year, he didn't do much at all. I don't know that if he eclipsed 100 carries all season for Poteet. They really limited his workload.
He redshirted.
I saw. Yeah, I mean, really, basically. I think he played in 5 or 6 games. I mean, he sat out at least half the season. But anyway, what you get in McGowan, and it's an interesting trait, I think he is a very comparable player to Rodney Anderson. And now, with McGowan, a lot of the traits that we saw in Anderson that we didn't see until college, I mean, we've always joked about Katie and they're not throwing to running backs. You saw that in McGowan. I mean, he played a lot of receiver this year for Poteet. He is a very skilled pass catcher, can do all those things, can work up the middle, can play out in the flats. I mean, he can do anything you want as a receiver. And then when you see him in person, I mean, Seth McGowan is a large running back. He is, just like I said, just like Rodney, you can tell he lives in the weight room. He is all of 210, 215 right now as a high school kid. He'll be one of the more impressive guys in that running back room the second he walks into it. He's just that kind of player. And I think because of that, I'm a little more okay with some of, the carries. He had a lot of carries as a sophomore and junior. I think, though, he is more physically capable of kind of living with that than maybe another guy would be. So, like I said, I think McGowan's a very complete back. He's not a home run hitter. And really, I think that's really the only obvious thing you could kind of knock him for. But between the tackles, getting 15 yards, getting 8 yards here, there, doing it in a variety of ways. I mean, he's got great vision, great feet, and there's just a lot to like about his game. Very complete player.
Josh, when you talk running back, do we have to see what happens with Kenny Brooks and Trey Sermon before determining whether or not they try to go for someone in the next 6 weeks?
Yeah, because I don't think Oklahoma is in any rush to do anything. I checked with several of the backs that you would kind of think, okay, maybe they made a call there. They didn't reach out to Sevion Morrison. They didn't reach out to Isaiah Jacobs. I did not hear back from him, but based on those 2 pieces of information, I'm pretty confident they did not reach out to Dominic Richardson. So you've got 3 in-state Power 5 guys that they didn't even try, which maybe it would have been too late, but I don't know. I mean, those guys, some of those guys were kind of fixated on OU at different points and would have made sense if they at least, pushed it back and said, okay, we're going to wait till February. We'll see what Oklahoma has to say. But Oklahoma never even opened that conversation. I think, though, if you were going to look for 2 guys at running back that you said, okay, maybe OU kicks the tires here a little bit, Corey Wren out of Louisiana would be a name, and I've mentioned him on the board as a guy that I think makes some sense. You talk about McGowan not having home run speed. Corey Wren is a home run hitter to the max. I mean, he's one of the fastest guys in the state of Louisiana. I believe is like a 400-meter champion in the state or something. So, I mean, he's a guy that can absolutely fly. The other is same story, Kevontre Bradford from Lancaster. Another flyer that I know loves Oklahoma. Right now, he kind of looks like Wisconsin may be the choice for him, but I think if Oklahoma wanted to get involved, they would. That's a race they could win.
Do you think that they would get involved? Is the running back position, as far as kind of what Bob insinuated, I guess it kind of works in Oklahoma's favor that by the end of, by mid-January, you're going to probably know what the score is with Trey Sermon and Kennedy Brooks.
Yeah, I don't think you can ask, will they, until Brooks and Sermon, what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then you also measure in, does someone leave? Does TJ Pledger think about doing something else?
Sure.
There's several things you can decide on. And the nice thing for Oklahoma, where we've talked about the calendar not really being advantageous for Oklahoma in December, in January, about the time those decisions will have to be made is about the time that first official visits can start happening. So Oklahoma can kind of keep in contact with these guys, but they don't have to lay their cards on the table until they really know what's what. And then they can say, okay, yeah, we want you to come in and, in January, or, they can kind of play that cool or, heat it up however they want to do it. And that's a nice little advantage they have. And obviously, like I said, in the case of Bradford, that's a guy that I have received multiple messages from multiple places that he would be very interested. And this is dating back to when it was, McClellan was going to be part of the class and everything was fine, that he is very interested in Oklahoma.
As a whole, would you, and I'm definitely not doing this to be rude, but should Oklahoma fans be worried about the state of the running back recruitment at Oklahoma right now? I think that's a fair question after what happened yesterday. After you lose a guy that had what I basically call a miscalculation of the relationship. Is that unfair?
I think that's it. Because my biggest issue with this whole thing is about what it looks like. Not that Jase McClellan's an irreplaceable player. I don't feel that he is. I think he's very good. Don't get me wrong. But we're not talking about, you lost Adrian Peterson, on signing day or anything like that. That's not what just happened. But it's the perception that Alabama can come in and take a guy in the matter of about 10 days that seemed, prior to that point, absolutely locked in for you. Now, whether that's entirely true is a little hard to know because Jase just doesn't say much, so it's hard to know exactly where he was. But there was no indication that something was amiss until Alabama really got in there and got involved.
See, and something doesn't smell right there because of all the coaches unfollowing and just that there being like there was something that happened, and I don't know if it was a meeting that happened with his family, with his his mom, but there was something. I'm not saying I know. For a fact this happened. Like that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, something had to have happened that basically soured that relationship, and I don't know what it is, but it just seems like it has all the hallmarks of that happening, Josh.
Yeah, there is, and I don't want. It's one of those tough spots. I feel like for those that aren't on the board,
he's nervous about talking about it.
You want me to present it?
Let me just say this. For those that are on the board, we do a post-NSD chat. I do it every year, and it's I think right now at like 400.
He's trying to get subs.
450 replies. Like it's
son
very
of a
busy.
bitch.
There are certain things I will answer in that thread that I can't always say publicly. There are some clear indications that on Monday night something went wrong. There was I think it was kind of a you're in or you're out conversation, and I don't get the impression that Jase flatly said he was out, but he definitely couldn't say he was in. And I think that was when Oklahoma just said, you know what? Best of luck.
After 2 years, you're going to pull this shit on us?
Yeah. And
when was
like,
the
do you
last-
know? And that's I could see someone losing their cool. Like, do you know what kind of running back pool was out there this year? And we wasted a spot on you. I mean, that's how I would feel.
That's where what Eddie's initial question really becomes an issue, because with all the talent at running back in 2020, OU gets Seth McGowan, a lifelong OU fan, and that's it.
Yeah,
and that's it's not, as I just said, Seth McGowan's a really good player. There's nothing wrong with him. He can be a workhorse guy for you. There's nothing wrong with that signing. But Oklahoma passed up on numerous guys they could have gotten. Bijan Robinson, OU had a legit chance with him in the spring, and that is currently the number one running back in the country.
Kendall Milton.
Not only is he the number one running back in the country, he's going to Texas. So you've lost twice. You lost Jase, and you're going to have to face this kid, and you had a chance to go get him. And it's just – you let Jalen Knighton go. I mean, we talked about it way back when. That was not really Jalen Knighton. OU was like, you do whatever you want to do. Because I think they wanted Seth McGowan instead, and that's fine. But I always talked about Seth and Jase, though different in body type and a lot of other ways, they were similar in the way they go about things. The way they have success is similar. Why wouldn't you have gone for a guy like Jalen Knighton, who is very different than both of those guys and can be used in different ways? Like I said, there's plenty of talent in that running back room, but at the same time, there should be, shouldn't there? I mean, like that's
absolutely.
It's Oklahoma's offense. It's not exactly, you're not having to do monumental work to get good talent to come in and play for you.
Oh, I'd even go as far to say, not even with Oklahoma's current offense, just at the school of Oklahoma, you should have phenomenal running backs. I mean, don't people like to boast that it's RBU?
You should always have 2 running backs that are going to get drafted in that room.
Absolutely.
And then, Josh, I know things could have changed from May on, but how probable, likely you think Kendall Milton could have been had they stuck with it?
I think they had a real chance. Now, with Georgia and the way they operate and do, that's a monster. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I don't know if they would have hung on, but at the time...
Am I supposed to CC this to the NCAA real quick?
At the time that Oklahoma walked on him, I mean, and I can tell you, this is from numerous other schools. He was as much OU as he was anything else. Like, OU had a very, very real chance at Kendall Milton. And for those that think, oh, they just walked on him for no reason or they didn't want to do the work, that's not the OU pretty clearly, since Lincoln Riley has arrived, likes to have their running back recruiting done by early summer. They don't want to keep messing with it. They don't want to chase guys forever. They want to have that position locked away so they can start working on the next class. And that's fine. That's a policy, and that, like, it's hard to argue. They've had a lot of good results, but in this case, I think it bit them because they didn't want to wait. And when you look at it, Seth McGowan committed in early June, and Kendall committed in like late July. So it was like 6 or 7 weeks. I mean, I get that that's not exactly what you wanted to do, but it feels like maybe you jumped the gun a little.
Let me take this opportunity, and we'll get back into recruiting, but remind you guys, our title sponsor, Midfirst Bank, want you guys to go to the website, midfirst.com/U40. That's midfirst.com/U40. They're proud to be the exclusive provider of the OU credit card. If you sign up for the OU Rewards credit card, you can do that right there on the website. You can earn $150 credit if you spend $1,000 in the first 90 days of having your OU Rewards card. Also, you can register for a chance to win the ultimate game day experience with every qualifying purchase you make, and that will get you an entry for the ultimate game day experience with VIP tickets to a football or basketball game. Plus, you get $500. There's no reason not to sign up. You get the OU card in your pocket, so every time you take it out and pay for something, everybody knows you're a huge Sooner fan. You can enjoy 0% off for the first year. So yeah, it's a really great deal. Really appreciate having Midfirst Bank as title sponsor of the Unofficial 40 podcast, and hope you go support them. It's midfirst.com/U40.
After the offensive line that Bill Bedenbaugh signed yesterday, does it matter who the running back is? I think there's going to be some holes up front.
That is, it happened so early, and Oklahoma had all the pieces of the puzzle. Before the season even started? No, that's not true.
They need to get the East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah. But you look at this group, guys, and we talked about it in one of the stories on the front page in Bob and I's class awards. Bob talked about the future star of the class being Rame, and I talked about one of the guys I love is Anton Harrison. I mean, like, there really is something for everybody in this group. And we've talked about it a lot. I won't, spend as much time on it as some other topics, but this group is so versatile. You've got guys that can play 3-4 different positions. Noah Nelson is a guy that I think, because of the other talent that's there, he can have the time he's going to need to develop. I think he is a guy with a lot of upside, but he's got more work to do than some of the other guys because they're 310, and he's probably 275. I mean, he just has some growing to do. But you look at Rame, you look at Parks, you look at Anderson. I mean, you're talking about a bunch of guys that could be playing on Sundays in the not too distant future.
And that versatility is something Lincoln preached about yesterday. I mean, they're not all going to work out like Cody Ford, but it's clear he wants guys who can go inside or outside. And if it doesn't work at one spot, don't throw in the towel. Don't hit the transfer portal. Let's try you at the other position and see if it can work out there. Because, I mean, it's something he mentioned quite a bit. He's not, as much as it's nice to have a pure tackle or something, when you've got people with this flexibility, boy, it makes it a heck of a lot easier.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's something, and you guys could talk to this better than I can. Bill Bedenbaugh, it's amazing that he does not have more attrition than he does, because he clearly works those guys hard. And then, to have the strength and conditioning program that Oklahoma does and all those things, Carrie and I can remember back in the early 2000s, it was just a turnstile of guys coming in and within a year or two were gone, just all the time.
Man, Gino would make him cry.
Yeah, we know why it was happening.
Literally.
I think he did kill Adam Carpenter.
But, it's one of those things where OU does not have that problem. Adrian Ely stays. Cody Ford stays through all his time. Hell, Alex Dalton stayed when Alex Dalton had every reason in the world to leave, knowing it was just not working out and he was never going to play. But he stayed, and that's where, for Oklahoma at that point with Alex Dalton, they're like, well, we could afford the scholarship. But now, when you're just continuing to further your talent base, it's pretty impressive what he's doing.
They're in rich get richer mode, and it's kind of what Oklahoma fans or college football fans just in general looked at Alabama over the last 5 years, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Is like, how do you continue to recruit guys when they know they're going to be replaced or basically backing up another 5-star? And it's, I guess, for a lack of better terms, it's a culture. He's created a culture on that offensive line group that if you come and you stick it out, not only are you going to have a chance to play, but you're going to have a chance to probably go play in the NFL, even if you maybe don't start at Oklahoma.
And then, how easy is it to stick with it when you see a guy like Lane Johnson getting paid
absolutely.
like he's getting paid? And then, you have all those other guys in the league. And, Orlando Brown's going to get paid a lot of money someday. But the other thing is, and we wrote about this year, I remember you talked to Adrian Ely about it, it's surprising how, much those guys are coaches on the field, too. They have a maturity level that you just don't expect out of football players in general. But then, the reaching out that the former players do to the current players, and they give it back, and they have a text group that they stick around with. Those guys are learning how to be the next great offensive line at Oklahoma.
It's a really tight group. It's a tight-knit group.
It's like a fraternity, really.
Yeah, no, it is for sure.
I don't know if they have a secret handshake.
We were talking. I think they just rub bellies against each other. I know it kind of sounds non-homo, or kind of homo in a non-homo way, but I think that's kind of what they do. Who were we talking? We were just talking to somebody about that, Carrie. I think it was Adrian Ely, maybe.
It was Ely, yeah. Because I wrote that story with Jamal Brown and him talking about.
And those guys are around the program a lot. Cody Ford was in Stillwater. What was that? 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, he was. That's right.
Yeah.
Those guys all
they got the matching tattoos and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I do wonder,
Joe group.
The one thing I do wonder, is that what might push Creed to the NFL, just because all of his friends are in the NFL. He's been teaching these guys how to be offensive linemen at Oklahoma. Does he really feel the connection to these guys?
He came in with them, though.
Yeah, that's true.
He came in with Hayes and Robinson. They're all 20, and Ely. They're all 2017.
Just a gut feeling.
It's just he played first.
Bob, we didn't really get anything out of the availability Wednesday afternoon.
That's weird.
But, we talked to Creed, and he was asked, and obviously he's going to give the company line of haven't really thought about it. Kenneth Murray said the same thing.
Just thinking about the bowl game.
Just between those two guys, though, it felt different. I don't know if I was just reading into something. Maybe something that
you felt
I
like
believe.
Murray was out the door, but not Humphrey.
Yeah.
There was just
Basically.
that feeling.
I don't know. That's just
night.
A complete.
Yeah, I still base it on
grasping at straws.
Senior night. The way he embraced his family felt like a guy that realized he'd played his final home game in Norman.
Yeah,
we'll see. I could make the argument too that maybe he wants to come back, win the Remington. I don't know if that's something that's just extreme. I don't think that would be the reason you come back to play, but I don't know. And I think we've talked about it before on the podcast, just as far as I don't know where he would go in the draft right now. I don't know what the league thinks of the way that he had.
He's not viewed
the way that
as
his
the
season
most
went.
dominant center in college football, or one of the most dominant linemen
And
in
if
college
you're
football.
I think he makes up for
Where the
that
heck
though
you
with
go?
everything else. It's like that guy would come in and he could be a not immediate impact guy, but
you know what
don't know.
will have a lot to do with it in my mind is like you go back to that Alabama game last year and you see the stuff that he put on tape against Quinnen Williams, and there was some really good stuff. If he goes out against LSU and puts together more really good tape and is impressive, and then you have back-to-back, playoff appearances of you playing two really good defensive lines and having some dominant moments, I almost think you have to go. I would tell my son to go. There, I told the joke before. You could tell it.
You're just looking for a payday.
If he's second round, is that good enough?
See, I think you could.
Yeah, because he's a sinner.
Is it? See, I was going to say you
absolutely
could come back and work your way into the middle first round.
Like
maybe the
I
first
don't know
offensive
how,
lineman taken.
I don't know how the league values
obviously
the
he
spot.
wouldn't. Yeah, and he wouldn't be taken in front of Sewell next year. So he wouldn't be the first offensive line taken. I mean, Sewell might be is going to be probably a top 3 pick.
I don't know if we lost Josh or not.
No, I'm here. No, and I agree completely. To me, if Creed's a second round, if he gets that grade, come back. Like, and I very rarely say that.
We need the money,
but Creed,
Josh.
Carey, I want you to give him the advice. He has a chance to be one of those top. He could be in the first 20 next year. That signing bonus alone is going to make up the difference. I mean, just wait, buddy. It's not a rush. Don't do the money grab. Just give it time. I'm interested to see what NFL front offices really getting the money. You can make up all the money lost.
Creed Humphrey has not got a snap off the ground through the first 3 games. Coincidentally, OU has not covered.
Coincidentally, Kerry Murdoch keeps showing up in gold chains in the press box. We're not sure what's happened.
Well, he just somehow got a Rolex Daytona between now and the last game.
He doesn't even want a parking pass. He wants a helicopter pad on top of the stadium.
Joe, could you put one on top of the press box? The walk through the stadium, I can't be around those
Too
people.
much. That many pores? Do you expect me to be around that many pores?
All right, but we talked offensive line. Here's one thing I wanted to get at, and this is going back to the defense. And I want to know if you feel this way, Josh, and Bob, feel free to chime in here. But do we have to, is maybe the biggest signing in this class because, I'm going to phrase it this way, because Alex Grinch needed someone to believe in him. He needed someone to say, I think this guy is going to make it better. To kind of be his bell cow. Is Bryson Washington the biggest signing of this class?
Spoiler alert, that's what I wrote, defensive awards. Yeah.
Of course he does it on the pod before he does the website.
No, I mean, he had to be because he looked like a Texas lock for so long that even when he made his official visit to Norman for the spring game, it's like it doesn't matter. He's going to Texas. And during that 2-month span from April to June, they won him over. And then Riley told the story yesterday about that was we all knew it was when they were at the Texas Rangers game. The oh wow, it wasn't eyes, it was oh wow. That was Bryson Washington calling to commit.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they're all at the Rangers game. They're all FaceTiming with the entire staff. And then, of course, Bryson went public July 4th. And what I wrote is that with each game, you could see him puff his chest out more. It's like, I made the right move. Mm-hmm. Grinch has got this going in the right direction. There's no second guessing necessary. I know I'm doing exactly what I need to do, and now it's up to me to start bringing some others with me because we're definitely going to do big things when we all get there.
And Josh, I remember, everybody's eyes were on Keely Ringo. I'm never going to say. I'm like Eddie with Ellinger with him. So everybody was fixated on him at the 5-star, and then you kind of get like OU's kind of falling out. It's not really going to happen, and then everybody's kind of attention turns to Bryson Washington. But you've seen him in elite competition situations. What's OU getting in this kid?
With Washington, I think you get a guy that has the elite ball skills that Grinch talks about, that he looks for. It's a guy that can cover in space. I think you can line him up over a tight end, and he's going to be okay. He's not going to get out physical, but he's athletic enough to kind of move around and do what he needs to do to make a play. What's interesting to me is I don't know that he is the guy that I would have originally said, yeah, that's the safety Grinch is looking for, because I thought of guys that were more like corners playing safety, and that's not exactly what Bryson Washington is. He's a little more physical. He can come up and play run. He can do things like that. I thought it would be guys that are a lot like Turner Yell. I mean, maybe bigger, like that's fine, but that kind of quickness, speed, we're going to play fast, that kind of thing. Washington is not the twitchiest guy on the planet. He's not like slow. I want to get the wrong impression, but he's just a bigger, more physical safety than I really had expected them to go after. But, I heard his comments yesterday, and he sounded like this is a very close embodiment of what we're looking for at that safety position. And again, I mean, I went and saw him in a game. I've seen him 2 of the last 3 years, and in each one, he either had a fumble caused, or he caused an interception, or he had a big touchdown catch in the game I saw him in this year. I mean, this is a guy that is accustomed to being around the ball and going and getting it. And it makes a lot of sense for Oklahoma.
Who are the guys in this class that you would consider, kind of forgotten treasures? I mean, guys that, maybe have been committed for a while or don't have a lofty ranking next to them, guys that you feel like are kind of undervalued.
I think this is maybe the most obvious one, isn't it, Josh? I think we all would agree on it.
No, I went Arinze.
Ooh, okay.
I did because
were you gonna go Henderson?
Oh, I was going Marvin Mims, no doubt.
Okay,
he's the most decorated high school pass catcher in the state of Texas ever.
That would be a real one for me, Eddie. Now, we finally got him into the Rivals 250, so I feel like he's gotten a little bit of credit.
Okay.
But, you talk about what he's done and the numbers he put up this year, and you're like, how is he not higher than that? So, I mean, I get it, but to me, it's the degree. And the guy that I still think is just overlooked is Shane Witter.
I knew Josh was going with Witter. I knew it.
That is a guy that, when I watch him on tape, I see a guy with great instincts, and when I talk to people, they're like, his football IQ is just off the charts. They just rave about how smart he is. But then you go and look at some of his testing stuff. This is a guy that was running 4.5s at a Nike camp. So you're talking about electric clock at 6'1" and 215 pounds. Okay, I can work with all that stuff. I mean, that's not just a guy that you're like, well, he's really smart, but he'll have to be because he can't get there very fast. Like, this is a good athlete that sees things well and reacts very quickly. I think he's one of those guys, and I've said it in multiple stories, I think he is a guy that we'll look back on in 3 or 4 years and say, how did everybody else not see this? Like, I think he might be very good.
Would it be fair to say that, Witter is a guy, obviously, that I don't want to say OU stumbled into by any means, but he's a guy that OU and namely Brian Odom identified and said, that's the guy I want.
That's my type of football.
I don't care how many stars are next to his name. That's who I want to coach.
Exactly. And that, I know talking to someone, one of the high school coaches that had come in contact with Brian Odom early on, and I think I might have mentioned this in the pod before, but he was talking about Odom kind of breaking down what he wants in a linebacker. And again, you guys have dealt with him. Odom's a very passionate guy. He runs hot. He just does. And he was talking to the coach about, I don't want just a body here. I don't want a guy that could be a decent player or might make all Big 12. When I look at a guy, I want to say that guy could win a Butkus Trophy for me. Like that's what he sees it as. And I'm not saying Witter's that guy, and obviously every coach in the country feels that way, but that's the kind of goal he's looking at. And when people get lost in the whole Edgerrin Cooper and Shane Witter and how that's connected. Sure, Oklahoma wanted Edgerrin Cooper. There's no question. That was their initial offer. That's a guy they liked a lot. There's just no argument to that. But Oklahoma saw enough in Shane Witter to say, you know what, Edgerrin, if you want to keep messing around with LSU and you want to keep waiting to see what they're going to tell you, we're just going to walk. We're not going to keep doing this. We're not going to wait on you forever. We feel more than comfortable with Shane Witter, and they made that move. So it's not like I said. It's just not that Oklahoma said, oh, well, we're going to lose Edgerrin Cooper anyways. No, they really like Shane Witter.
Mr. Prisbillo, make your case for Noah Arinze.
Because they did so much evaluation on him. Because he was on campus, 3 or 4 different times from February to May. So they really took their time to make sure this is who they wanted. And Calvin Thibodeaux made the move. He committed. You look at his season stats. You look at the body type, and you're like, okay, I get how he's going to fit. And I think that comes back to a lot to what we've talked about. Clear identity, clear scheme. It made things a lot easier because you knew, okay, well, that's where this guy is going to go. He's not just a freak athlete that will try to figure it out. This is where he's going to play. And I think they have a good idea of what Arinze is going to bring to the table.
All right, I want to remind you guys, SeatGeek is our official ticketing partner at Soonerscoop.com, and I know a lot of you guys have been using SeatGeek, and really appreciate that. But obviously, with the big bowl game coming up, if you guys are going to drive over to Atlanta, you're looking for some decently priced tickets, you don't want to get gouged, or you just want to have them before you take off, go download the SeatGeek app. They pull together millions of tickets from all over the web. And they rate each deal on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into as far as the deal. I'm looking at the Peach Bowl right now, and they've got tickets for pairs starting out at $117 each. So you're not going to get price gouged. You're going to get the best prices. You're going to be able to have an app that works better than anything else that's out there. I've used them. Eddie's used them. Josh has used them to go to some Astros games. I don't think Bob doesn't like paying for food. I don't know if he'll ever pay for a sporting event. Maybe a Bears
Bob
game.
goes to Thunder games.
Yeah,
I think.
on the
In-laws have season
in-law
tickets.
tickets.
Exactly. Yeah.
I set you up.
Yeah.
You should have just said it.
But yeah, Thunder games. If you want to go catch the Thunder, it's not difficult to catch the Thunder. They don't stink as bad as everybody thought, but you can get reasonably priced tickets. Just go download the SeatGeek app. And here's the thing. Put in the promo code SCOOP, and you'll get $10 off your first purchase. So download the app, use the promo code. It's SCOOP, and you get $10 off your first purchase. So thanks to SeatGeek for being a great partner and a great sponsor of the Unofficial 40 podcast over the years. All right.
The next part. Let's go.
You want to go over the disaster that was yesterday?
You want to go over how you nuked
I don't
the
think
press
it was
conference?
a disaster at all.
It was for Lincoln. I mean, you got to admit, you could tell it was just like, oh, God.
I thought he handled it well, though.
I thought
did.
overall it was handled pretty well, and I was expecting it to be some kind of ultimate just big shit show, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't
No.
that. I mean,
No.
and I think that...
He did have to finally just say, I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
Yep. Do we want to rewind all the way back to like Monday morning
Yeah. I mean, Sunday evening.
or Sunday? Was it Sunday evening?
afternoon.
I was,
Sunday-
okay, I was gonna say
it was
Sunday,
Sunday night.
and I couldn't remember if it was Sunday or Monday morning. But
I can trigger the podcast if you want me to.
I mean,
I have a story.
you can steer it whichever way you want.
I have a
I'm
story
I'm
that
buckled
might,
in. I'm buckled in and ready to roll.
that might make for mass bannings, just the comment on what I'm getting ready to tell you. So I did Christmas with my family last weekend.
Same.
And so
I believe they call that Hanukkah.
we're not Jewish. So I did, it's called, we go to bowl games every year. So my family's just used to, like, Carrie's not going to be here for Christmas. Let's go to Florida. And my sister lives in Florida, so they're going to go spend Christmas with her. Anyway, so I went out shopping for my dad one day, got him a nice watch. And I told my mom, okay, he got a nice watch. What do you want? She said, I want a new dishwasher. So we go to the Nebraska Furniture Mart. We're walking around looking at dishwashers. And I look down, and Mike Stoops is calling me. And I'm like, what does Mike Stoops want? And I hadn't. People see. I do this to myself.
Your best
It's not
buds.
like Mike and I talk every week. This is the first time in 6 months, probably.
It's your
3-4
weekly talk.
months.
It was
that I've
time for your
talked to
Sunday
him.
chat.
It was your Sunday chat time.
Hello, Michael. I'm shopping for you. Merry
I
Christmas.
just asked for this. So anyway, I figured he's like, hey, what's going on? And I thought I could tell him, well, I'm out shopping with my mom to get
Say
a Christmas
preparing
present.
for a playoff. What about you?
And so Yes, I trash talked him. Because Mike, that goes over so well when you talk shit to Mike Stoops.
I'm kidding. Okay, go ahead.
And so I figured he'd be like, okay, well, hey, let me call you later. And no, like 40 minutes later, I'm done talking to Mike Stoops. But the first thing he asked me is, what's going on with these suspension rumors at Oklahoma? And I'm like, oh, shit, is this real? Like, is this really happening? And so I didn't know, and he didn't really know. So I finished talking to him. I helped my mom and driving home, and I kind of knew things were blowing up on the board a little bit, and the rumors were getting out of control, and that it was going to be a full-blown deal. But I just had to get home, and then I would deal with it. I think we all determined, like, look, we'll get on this Monday. Like, it's fine. And so I think maybe even some of us reached out to people on Sunday night.
Yep.
And it just was one of those things like, okay, I mean, nowadays you got to check everything.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the best way to say it. As crazy as it sounds, going all the way back to 2015 when we're told Bob Stoops is going to retire, I check everything that is conceivable or reasonable, you got to check.
Yeah.
You just have to check nowadays.
So, and it's about, 1 out of every 3 things that when this happens, it's either someone got it twisted up and it's not really what it was, or it just didn't happen at all. Like the Kennedy Brooks is suspended.
Brooks thing, yeah.
So we start sending out feelers, and we're all kind of discussing, like, okay, who should we check with? We check with this, we check with that. This person, you check with them, this. Like, we're assigning, people to sources. And so all the really, good sources, I would say, the obvious sources, which, families, people close, like, we all reached out to see if there was anything to it. And usually in that situation, you'll at least get a, I don't know where that's coming from, but that's
literally
not
like
accurate.
a laugh out loud, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
Why?
But it became more like, I haven't really talked to him. Let me get back to you. And then they never get back to you. And then, so you start hearing, other things from people you're checking out, people close to them and indirectly. And there's so many people. You're going like, third hand, fourth hand, and like you're getting this noise, but that's not enough for us to feel comfortable to report it. And so we continue to check with sources and check. And so, like, we wake up on Monday, we had a little bit more. Monday afternoon, we heard something else that was a little bit more. I would say by Monday afternoon, we had a pretty good idea who the players were, or the main guys involved.
It's kind of like the, I think we mentioned the Tylan Wallace thing before it came up, and this might be a bad example, but when you continue to hear things, and it's the same names, and you continue to get non-committal, I guess,
non-denial denials.
Right, that's what I'm trying to say. Things start adding up, and I think that's probably just kind of the best way to say it, as far as where there's smoke, there's fire, and this was a this was a massive,
really, Eddie, smoke.
Well, I mean,
wow, Bob, I love it.
You got me there. Let me get my bubbler out real quick.
So, yeah, I mean, so and I think by Tuesday night, well, I had already put that we confirmed their suspensions on the board, but we're not ready to name names because there was a thing, like, and still to this day, it's like, was it weed? Was it PEDs? And I think we feel a certain way that it was probably weed. Which, by the way, you're not going to win an appeal on weed. Everybody I talked to said there's no way that you win an appeal for weed. So if it was weed, which we think it is, but we don't know 100%, then you're not going to win your appeals. But so anyway,
we'll go through our research and development before I go off on the idea that you should be suspended for smoking a joint. But,
I know. Well, at least it wasn't like the Utah State players that.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Got arrested just for having it in their system. They didn't even get caught with it.
I honestly don't even know if that's legal.
It can't be. No. So anyway, Tuesday, we knew that there were suspensions. We kind of knew what the names were. And then early Wednesday morning, Eddie had texted me something that was very concrete. And so then I texted someone, said, yes, that's true. That's exactly what I've heard. And we knew at that point.
And
okay,
in between those two bumpers, Bob and Josh had come across stuff that was like, okay, this is very like the people they had been talking to just basically.
You could debunk certain names, and then you start saying, okay, you can circle that one.
Right. And not one person, not once throughout the entire process did someone say, you're not on the right track.
Yeah, like you're way off base.
And that's what, I don't want to go into how to develop sources, all this stuff, but like that's the thing that was most telling is that the people that knew went completely dark. Like you, across the board, universally, you never see that happen. There'll at least be someone that lies. You can at least find one liar, but we couldn't even find one of those. So, yeah, and it's been interesting because, now you talk to people in official capacities, and they acknowledge it. And Lincoln did somewhat acknowledge it yesterday. He definitely, burnt Ramondre Stevenson. And that was the first one. And so then the press conference is going on, and right after he kind of burns Ramondre Stevenson, I'm like, okay, he's not going to go into this. There was a part of me that was like, I need to release this so everyone here knows so they can ask directly about these players. And that didn't work because Lincoln just shut it down and refused to address Ronnie Perkins.
Well, because the thing about Kennedy Brooks, why it was actually very clever to start with him, is because he had that
been
hit.
Banged up. Yeah.
He took that hit against Baylor. So you're asking about his physical well-being. And then when you switch to Ramondre, who had nothing happen to him in the Baylor game, he scored championship-winning touchdown. Then it's like, then Lincoln put it together. Oh, wait a minute, I need to just stop talking, period.
So, and we haven't even actually, just laid it out. Like, I don't know what rock you're living under if you don't know, but Ronnie Perkins, Ramondre Stevenson, Trajan Bridges, all suspended for the bowl game. There are more players, but those are the most significant ones. And I can tell you, like, if you're thinking, well, I heard about Trey Brown or I heard about Jalen Redmond. No, those guys aren't suspended. So it's the most significant players are those three right there. And really, Trajan Bridges is included as significant, not because of an offensive player, but he's a big part of special teams. And so is Ramondre.
So is Stevenson. Yeah. It'll be interesting what Beamer and Boulware try to do with that group.
I think just the first instant reaction when you hear that is probably get away with Bridges. That's okay. Like they can find somebody to fill in.
We made him bigger than what his role was.
Probably so.
This season. We all thought it'd be bigger.
Stevenson, again, yeah, you need a backup running back.
He's a great guy to have.
And if you're going to be a ball control offense, you want as many running backs and people that have been solid and reliable as many possible bodies as you can.
But does he prevent you from winning that game?
Probably not. No. Then you get to Ronnie Perkins, and I mean, simply put, I think Kenneth Murray's the most important person on the team or on that defense. Ronnie Perkins is probably the best player on that defense.
And here's the thing: Josh, to me, Ronnie Perkins' athletic ceiling, other than Neville Gallimore, that's what hurts so much, is because you have a guy that is kind of coming of age. And he is also extremely talented. Like, he can raise his level of play along with LSU just won the Joe Moore Award this morning, by the way.
And good luck.
Like, they've won every award that's out there pretty much.
It is kind of crazy. And Josh, I'm sure you've watched LSU's offensive line. Throw it to you here, but I was a little surprised that they're like 77th in sacks allowed this year. I think they've given up 29 this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good group. There's no question about it.
But I'm not shitting on him, believe me. I'm not trying to say that.
I was really going to agree with you. I'm a little surprised it's not Oregon. I thought Oregon was the best offensive line in the country this year, largely led by the best offensive lineman in the country.
Yeah.
Sewell's just a monster. But that's what hurts the most about Perkins is because I think if there's one way OU can win this game, it's by creating pressure. Like I don't see any way that doesn't involve that story. And to lose your best pass rusher up front, that's tough.
Yep.
And I've seen some stuff like, I feel bad for the kids, and I do too. I mean, it sucks. They're going to miss this opportunity, all that sort of thing. But I also feel bad for the rest of that team that's put all this time and work into it, and then one stupid mistake apparently is going to probably cost OU a chance to really compete in this game.
Jerry DiNardo on the Joe Moore Award
Committee.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't he be? I'm sure he voted for LSU, his great times there in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, he didn't actually leave there on good terms. So,
yeah, like I said, it's a good group. I don't think it's as good as some others LSU have had, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, they're going to present Oklahoma with plenty of problems. The more interesting story, and we can get into all that after we're done with this, but is the Clyde Edwards-Helaire situation.
Yes.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I would say this. It's an argument to be made, but to me, Helaire, missing him is more impactful for them than missing Ronnie Perkins. They're both impactful, but to me, Helaire is a guy that makes Joe Burrow better, makes that offense better. You're just losing a edge rusher when you're losing Ronnie Perkins. He's not the identity of your unit.
I would almost compare Edwards-Helaire to like Mixon for Mayfield. Like that connection, like they're going to be in the right spots. They know what they want to do, and they play off of each other really well.
He's a safety valve, too, a lot of times in the pass
exactly.
game. So that'll be interesting. I mean, it's a hamstring injury. Ed Orgeron is playing at Coy, not saying a whole lot, probably because he knows Lincoln Riley won't say anything if anybody's hurt.
It's kind of one of those things, too, that, I mean, you look down at the calendar, we're inside
9 days.
9 days.
9 days.
Like, it's not that
You're going to be on a plane in 2 days.
If they let me on. I hope the nice, kind people of the TSA in Oklahoma City get me through.
It's
safely.
coming back where we have to worry about you getting tackled by every TSA agent
In
because
Atlanta.
they're dicks in Atlanta.
Oh, those people suck. But either way, it's kind of crazy though that it just works out this year that layoff that you usually have for a bowl game or for a playoff game. It's just not there this year.
Yeah, it wasn't a question for me to ask in that setting, but I always wondered how did their bowl prep change in terms of getting younger guys more time. Like you usually spend that first week trying to see what these red shirt guys might be able to do. Did you even have that chance?
And you had to give guys some time off.
Yeah, I think they basically gave everybody last week off while they were on. Well, not off. I mean, all the students were still in school, wrapping up finals and stuff. Yeah. So, but they've been practicing in full now for since Sunday. So they've been inside a couple of days because of the weather out in Oklahoma. But they will get down to Atlanta next week. We'll be down there and be game week. So it's kind of crazy how it all comes together so quickly this year.
If it is weed, Carrie, is it 6 games? And is it where they would miss the Texas game in 2020 because that's the 5th game?
If that is, yes, that's what happens. So.
Which, it's an NCAA deal. I think if you're an OU fan, you want it to be weed at this point because a PED thing
is a year.
They're gone. They're I mean, I would think Stevenson, he just leaves. You might as well just enter your name, right?
Probably, yeah.
Bridges, obviously, that'd be awful for him to have to miss an entire year.
Ugh.
It's just, it's such an archaic rule. I know it's a rule, and I know that don't smoke on campus. Don't smoke as a college athlete. You're there to play football. I get that. But the reality of the situation is...
You sound like it.
That's not the reality.
Are you trying to avoid the redneck voice because then the wrath of the board?
No, that was more of just like a elder person. That wasn't an old board person. That was more of
elder person. An elder.
I think I'll put it this way. I think people and anybody that has been in Norman as a student in the last 10, 15 years would probably agree. You'd be surprised the things that go on a college campus, particularly with the athletes on a college campus. And I don't think that is.
There's nothing that surprises me because I mean you're one of the first. When I say you kid, we met you when you were still a kid.
Yeah.
You openly talked about cocaine a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and I was just like,
just not as much.
People just freely, openly talk about cocaine now. It's like it was shocking to me. But I found out what a deal cocaine still was.
Yeah, well, and I mean, and I'm not saying that it's currently on OU's campus because I don't know. I'm too far removed from it. I am an old in that sense, but like I would bet right now on OU's campus, out of I would say the student population. I bet 65 to 70% of the, I don't want to say I don't know. That's probably too high.
Student populace?
I would say there's a lot more people that are smoking on campus than you realize. And it's not Norman. Yeah, I'm not talking crack or anything. There might be a couple people smoking crack, though. I don't know if Joe Powell's still around. But I
think he's in the XFL.
No way.
Yeah, no, I think I saw.
Wow.
Well,
I don't want to pick on Joe Powell. I'll pick on somebody else. Parrish
Joe.
Cobb.
There was a Joe Powell on the draft board that they came out with, but I don't know if it was the same one.
What's he been playing anything last 3, 4, 5 years?
All-time great story when he got arrested for marijuana possession, coincidentally. I think he just had it shipped to his apartment. And the cops, like, obviously they caught on, and they had, like, cops deliver it instead of the UPS. Mm-hmm. And he just signed for it.
And it was actually being delivered by an undercover cop wearing a UPS uniform?
I'm pretty sure that's the story. All-time great story.
Oh, I mean, okay.
That was during the Bob
Where would
Stoops
that rank
dark
against?
ages.
Where would that rank against Parrish Cobb robbing people that knew him?
Oh, that's
boy.
probably...
we recognize you.
That's a new level. That's a new level of stupid. There's no doubt about that.
Well, that's like white men can't jump when he goes into the grocery store to get money to take on
Raymond.
Raymond.
Yes,
Yeah, Raymond. He's like, Raymond, is that you?
Is that you? No.
No, it ain't Raymond.
Ooh, is this racist?
No.
That's a great
scene. That was a good impression, Josh. I didn't think it was racist at all, even though Eddie does. Okay, so bowl games coming up. It's going to be interesting. We've kind of hinted, and people have noticed this, that there's some new stuff coming. I got a shitload of work to do to make this happen. But I am staying behind this year. Eddie and Bob are going to the bowl game, and things are going to be beamed back here so we can and I've got to double check a couple of things, but I think we're going to even be able to carry like press conferences live, media day stuff live, so you're going to get stuff as it's happening from Atlanta.
That's going to be weird with Perkins, Bridges, and Stevenson on media day.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that.
I don't know that they'll be there, though. Will they even go on the trip if they're suspended?
See, Kersey and I were talking about this yesterday. I want to say, like, when those Clemson guys got suspended, they sent them home.
Okay.
They made them get on a bus.
Yeah.
And that was from Miami.
Yeah, I don't think it's up to OU. I think the bowl is like if you're suspended, because they have to pay for that shit.
You cannot come. You're, like, banned from coming or barred from coming. I really don't know.
They should do it that way. I mean, because Because,
again, I guess technically OU's still waiting to hear back in an appeal process, right?
I don't know. I talked to some people last night. I don't know with that situation. I think so, but it's not for certain.
Okay.
But I mean, are we that soft that we just can't send home people who are suspended? Like, you failed a drug test. You cannot be here. Like, it should be okay to say you can't come to this. Like, or are you afraid that, is it got to the point, like, if you do that, then they're going to quit? Because they can't come to the bowl, even though there are consequences to your actions.
I think the NCAA makes them stand outside of the
I'm being
offices
such an old right now.
in
I know.
Indianapolis with a sign front and back that says, "I'm a bad person."
It's like
I
when your
smoked
dog
weed."
chews up something and you put a sign on him.
The cone
That
of
might be
shame.
racist. Or
towards
humanist.
dogs.
Anti-human.
I was like,
It's
wait,
against the
that's
Geneva
not-
Convention.
Signed Mike Vick picture over here makes sense now.
That's Ron Mexico to you, all right? No, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work, but yeah, even if they are there, those guys, if they're suspended, they're not going to have to go to media day, and Lincoln's not going to let them go to media day.
Like, so they won't. OU won't get in trouble. Like, 'cause remember all the Joe Mixon stuff from 4 years ago.
Oh, they definitely got. Yeah, they were facing a fine if they didn't make
but
Joe Mixon
they
available.
wouldn't be facing a fine if they don't put these guys.
No, I wouldn't think so because they're suspended. Which is maybe a good reason. Maybe that's the way you come up and say, look, you guys can't go because if you go, we have to make you available for media, and we're not doing that. So I don't. It's awkward. The whole thing is weird. I hated that it happened on signing day, just because you have people in that department that work year round for this. I mean, some of these kids you've been working on signing them for years, and you finally get your day to announce it, and then it just all anybody cares about is who's suspended.
I thought the thing that kind of went under the radar yesterday, and it really nothing was proven, and I don't think that any answers will be revealed until they get to that point. But just the conversation about Caleb Kelly and what you do.
Pretty much,
I mean, you have to just basically play him.
Yeah,
you're playing him against LSU. I don't think there's any
that's what I
question
took
about
from
that.
Lincoln Riley yesterday. Like, look, he's part of the team now. We're playing him. If we get to the national championship, then we'll worry
Make
about
that
it.
decision.
Yeah.
They want to make that decision. They want to be forced to make that decision.
What if you go out though and he just plays lights out? Like it finally starts clicking for him.
10 tackles, 3 forced
flying
turnovers.
all over the field. He's had an interception.
He decapitates Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
literally takes his head off of his body.
Yeah, I'm not going that far
Why not?
because that's
He
gruesome.
put it back on after the game.
It's not a cartoon. This is real life.
Could be.
So, yeah, but like if he goes out and just has a whale of a game, I think I might be behind him just blowing his final year. I mean,
What'd you think of the Trams scenario as far as applying to the NCAA for an extra year?
Because the logic in that is you have the 4-game rule in 12 games. That's a third of a season.
Mm-hmm.
If you play 15, 5 games is still a third of the season.
yeah,
It
That
makes a lot of
was the
sense. I'd
logic.
never thought of it.
it's a really good point. Yeah.
Yep, it is.
But the appeal process, you got to figure that take forever. Might even go into spring or
And
summer.
you got to go to the draft. I mean,
I mean, and then if you hear in the summer that's denied, what the hell Caleb Kelly's supposed to do then?
look, if he plays a great game against LSU, they make it in the national championship, he plays really well there, he'll get drafted. I mean, he won't have to worry about it. It would be bizarre, though, to have
I thought
Caleb,
he played great against Baylor.
Yeah, I did
that
too.
last
He
game.
Yep.
Yep.
maybe the most consistent that we've ever seen him as a defensive player.
Other than the Auburn game. I mean, the Auburn game was his moment.
It was.
All right, well, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be coming at you from Atlanta. The boys will be down there. We'll still be podcasting, so don't worry about any of that. Really appreciated you guys coming in today. You know, it's been a long week, especially a long day yesterday. So appreciated you guys coming in today for the podcast. And any last words, any last bit of business? Want to wish everybody a really Merry Christmas, even though...
We'll pod again. No.
Well, Christmas is the pod.
Christmas
yeah.
is pod
Next week.
day.
I guess
might
we
have to
will
do-
pod on Christmas. We'll be in
Well, we'll be-
Atlanta.
we'll be in
I keep wanting to
Atlanta.
say we're going to be in Miami, but we're not going to be in Miami. I don't know why I keep trying to say that.
I guess none of us are doing anything but working on Christmas anyway, so we
I guess
can pod on
Josh will have
Christmas.
Christmas, but
Yeah, Josh, you can take it off
Yeah.
because everybody knows that you don't work. You're just all about family now.
Well, and let us not forget, I mean, all the people that you felt bad for, none of them was, your partner in work that works all year round to signing day, and then you just snatched the day from me, just took it away.
Yeah, I know. I did dick you over yesterday pretty hard.
Yeah. Pause.
My last comment would be we're in Atlanta and Josh getting ready to do Under Armour. I mean, we're right in that mode.
Yeah, I'll be there the night of the game. I'll be in Orlando. So, same deal as last year. It's really weird that it worked out that way, but exact same situation as last year. The night before, the night of check-in at Under Armour was the night that I was in Orlando last year.
By the way, still going on the website as well. Just go to the front page of Soonerscoop.com. You'll see a big banner at the top. We've got our special. We've had hundreds of people jump on this thing. You sign up for a year subscription. We give you 25% off. That makes it $75. And then we give you $75 in a Nike gift card. So it's basically you get a year subscription for free and some Christmas presents. So it's a nice way to become a member. If you haven't become a member, it's only for new members. So go to the website, sign up. It's got a landing page. It takes you, gives you all the promo code details, helps you sign up. So please, if you've ever thought about it, give us a shout. Just like yesterday, Sooner Scoop was national news, and we work as hard as we can to break stories, give you guys information, cover recruiting year-round, cover football year-round. Bob's getting ready for basketball season, even though the Sooners are sucking right now.
I'll be there Saturday. I don't know who's going to be there Saturday. It's 7-3. Students are on break, but I will be there Saturday.
Last two games have been really disappointing, and Jamal Bieniemy has got to start finding his basketball game again.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Kruger about that here in the next hour.
All right. Well, thanks to Josh McCuistion. Thanks to Eddie Radosevich. Thanks to Bob Przbillo. I'm Kerry Murdoch, and we'll see you here next week. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody, and we'll see you back probably on Christmas next week. Thanks for listening to the Unofficial 40, brought to you by Midfirst Bank. Remember, midfirst.com/U40. Go sign up for that OU Rewards card. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you guys back here next week on the Unofficial 40 podcast.